it still doesn't feel real. Just days ago, fans were revisiting old scenes, quoting lines, and rewatching performances that made an entire generation fall in love with gritty television. And now, the name James Ransone is being spoken about in an entirely different way. At just 46 years old, his story came to an abrupt and heartbreaking stop, leaving behind a mix of disbelief, confusion, and a quiet question many people are afraid to say out loud. How does someone so talented, so respected, and seemingly so self-aware reach a point like this? For a lot of viewers, James Ransone wasn't just another character actor. He was unforgettable from the moment he appeared on screen. His breakout role on The Wire wasn't flashy or heroic, but it was painfully real. He played characters who felt raw, flawed, and human in ways that stuck with people long after the credits rolled. That ability to make discomfort feel authentic became his signature, and it followed him through nearly every project he touched. Directors didn't cast him to be polished, they cast him because he told the truth, even when it wasn't pretty. As his career grew, so did his reputation as someone who disappeared into roles. He wasn't chasing stardom or headlines. He moved quietly between television and film, often choosing darker, more complicated projects that required emotional risk. Horror fans remember him for performances that felt uncomfortably close to reality. Indie film audiences saw him as someone willing to go places others avoided. And behind the scenes, people who worked with him often described the same thing: intense focus, generosity on set, and a deep respect for the craft. But there was always another layer to James Ransone that made his performances hit harder, and over the years, he didn't shy away from acknowledging it. In interviews, he spoke openly about growing up around chaos and dealing with trauma at a young age. He never romanticized it. He talked about it plainly, sometimes uncomfortably so, as if he believed honesty was the only way through. Those experiences, according to people close to him, shaped the way he approached acting and life. He understood darkness not as an idea, but as something lived. That honesty earned him admiration, but it also revealed a quieter truth. Carrying that much weight doesn't simply disappear. While Ransone had spoken about getting sober and working hard to stay grounded, reports in recent years suggested that he still wrestled privately with long-term emotional struggles. Friends say he was reflective, thoughtful, and deeply self-aware, but also sensitive in a way that made him feel everything intensely. There's been online discussion about whether the industry truly makes space for people like that, or if it simply benefits from their vulnerability while offering a little protection in return. When news broke that he had passed away, reactions poured in almost immediately. Fans struggled to reconcile the loss with the man they thought they knew through his work, but it was the responses from fellow artists that painted the clearest picture. Director Spike Lee, who worked with Ransone on multiple projects, shared a message that felt less like a public statement and more like a personal goodbye. He called him family. Others echoed that sentiment, describing him as kind, funny, and deeply loyal once you earned his trust. This wasn't someone drifting on the fringes of the industry. He was loved. And yet, despite all of that connection, the ending was devastating. Authorities have said there was no sign of foul play, and reports indicate he took his own life. Out of respect and responsibility, it's important to say this carefully. The details surrounding his passing are not something to speculate on wildly. What's known is that he's gone, and what's unknown is what exact thoughts or moments led him there. Anything beyond that remains private and should stay that way. Still, his death has reopened conversations that Hollywood often avoids unless tragedy forces them into the spotlight. The pressure to constantly perform, not just on screen, but emotionally, can be exhausting. For actors like Ransone, those who draw directly from personal pain to deliver realism, the line between art and survival can blur. Some fans online have suggested that this constant emotional excavation takes a toll that isn't always visible. Others have pointed out how rarely actors known for darker roles are offered lightness or relief in their work. What makes this loss hit even harder is that James Ransone seemed to be in a period of quiet momentum. He continued working steadily, earning respect rather than chasing reinvention. There was no public meltdown, no obvious warning signs splashed across headlines. And that's often how these stories go. The loudest struggles aren't always the most dangerous. Sometimes it's the silence that does the most damage. Looking back at his work now, there's an eerie resonance in many of his performances. Lines that once felt like fiction suddenly sound personal. Moments that seemed like acting now feel like glimpses into something deeper. But reducing his legacy to his final chapter would miss the point entirely. James Ransone gave audiences something rare: honesty without filter, vulnerability without apology, and performances that refused to lie. If there's anything his story leaves behind, it's a reminder that talent and pain often coexist, but neither cancels the other out. Admiration doesn't replace support. Success doesn't erase old wounds. And understanding someone's art doesn't mean we understand their battles. As fans continue to revisit his work, there's a growing sense that the best way to honor him isn't through speculation, but through acknowledgement of his impact, his humanity, and the reality that some struggles remain invisible until it's too late. James Ransone may be gone, but the characters he brought to life, the risks he took, and the honesty he offered aren't disappearing anytime soon. And maybe the most unsettling part of all is realizing how many stories just like his are still unfolding quietly behind closed doors, waiting for someone to notice before the ending is written.